Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a video to sum up my first year of project planning. So if you're wondering about the background, I am pre-filming at my parents' house, which is why it looks a bit different. I have a list right here with all of the things that I kind of learned from my first year of project planning, and I'm just going to go through all of them. So I have kind of three things to talk about in this video, or three categories, and that is what I've learned, my favorite thing about project planning, as well as my tips and tricks. So let's just jump straight into the first category, which is going to be what I've learned. So the first thing that I learned is what items I can go through quite quickly and what items take me forever to use up. I learned that the items that I go through really quickly is, first of all, lipsticks, which I was quite surprised about because I heard from others that it takes forever to use up lipsticks, but for me, I actually go through them quite quickly. I can actually go through a whole lipstick in a month if it's a creamy formula or if it's kind of like a sheer formula. So that's one thing that I learned that I go through really fast. And another category of products that I learned that I go through really fast is base products. So that can be anything from primers, foundations and concealers. I go through them really fast. I feel like they're items that you can use every single day, and if you use them consistently, you go through them quite fast. And then on the other hand, the items that I take a really long time using up is definitely powder products. So mainly blushes and eyeshadows. Those take me definitely longer to use up, and I feel like that's the most kind of common thing for most people. When it comes to other products like highlighters and bronzers, I feel like it's kind of like in the middle. It doesn't take me too long, but it definitely does take quite a long time. I feel like pressed products in powder form just take a long time to use up because they're just harder to use up compared to cream products, for example. And I feel like the number one thing that takes forever to use up, not just for me but for everyone, is blushes. Those are really hard to use up because you don't need that much to blush up your cheeks, and you can't really overuse them because then you look crazy. So that is definitely my number one thing that takes me forever to use up. And then also another category that I learned that takes me forever to use up, that I was quite surprised about, is liners. I know that I put in an eyeliner and like a pencil eyeliner in my project at the beginning of the year, and I said that I'm sure that I would go through that quite fast, but it took me basically half of the year to go through that. And that is something that I used almost every single day. So that is definitely something that takes me forever to use up, both eyeliners and lip liners in pencil forms. Another thing that I learned through doing product planning is that you don't have to be scared to use up items, because previously to doing product plans, I kind of was really scared to hit pan on things because I thought that it would go really fast, and I didn't really use the items that I loved too much because I was scared to use them up, which is crazy because if you ever try to use up something, you know that it takes forever to use it up. And I definitely learned that I don't have to be scared to use the items that I love, because even though I want to save them, and especially things that are limited edition or really expensive that I don't want to finish up, I don't have to be scared to use them because they do last for a really long time, and I can use them almost every single day and they will not disappear for months. So that is definitely the second thing that I learned through project planning. The third thing is quite a quick one, but I definitely learned how satisfying it is to use up an item. The feeling of just hitting pan and finishing an item is so satisfying, and I know that, like, for example, now when I'm home at my parents, I've been showing my mom all my pans and it's so exciting, and I don't really know if she gets it. She probably thinks I'm crazy, but yeah, it's just so exciting to kind of hit pan and use up items. So that is definitely the third thing that I've learned. So the fourth thing that I learned definitely goes back to the second point that I made, and that is that I learned to declutter items that I don't love, because it does take so long to use up items that I should focus in on the items that I actually love or enjoy using, and I shouldn't force myself to use up items that I don't like. Previously I kind of kept things that I felt like was meh, because I thought that I could use them on the days, kind of on my everyday kind of basis, or on days that I don't really want to feel that special. But since it takes so long to use up items that I love, I would rather use them up for my everyday use, so that I can use them before they go bad. And I feel like I don't really have to waste my time on bad makeup days. So the last point that I learned is that I am very stubborn. I'm very determined when it comes to using up items. I can use the same item every single day without getting bored. Maybe I get a little bit bored at points, but I'm definitely very determined, and kind of my stubbornness definitely overpowers my boredom, if that makes sense. So, I definitely really enjoy using products up enough that I can use them every single day. And I kind of learned that I can't stick to the same products because I do want to see the usage on them. So let's move on to the second category, and I'm actually going to do my tips and tricks next. And my first tip will be to choose items that can work together. So that means that you can pick items that goes really well together. So for example, if you're panning like a really peachy blush, then perhaps you shouldn't pick like a hot pink lip, if that makes sense. So kind of pick things that go together and that you can use together, but that don't overlap. Don't pick items that are kind of in the same category. So for example, one example would be not to pick two powder blushes because you can't really use them together, but you could pick a cream blush and then a powder blush because the cream blush you could use underneath your foundation, and then you can set it with a powder blush on top. That's actually what I'm doing right now. I am panning both a powder blush and a cream blush. Although if you could, I would probably only pick one blush because yeah, blushes are really hard to use up. But that is, for example, a point. Also, a really good point in this is, for example, when it comes to eyeshadows, try to pick eyeshadows that work together so that you can use them at the same time and not having to choose between the two, if that makes sense. So that is my first tip. My second tip, that is something that really helped me, is to have an everyday makeup bag and put all of your product pan items in there. And then what I do is kind of add items that I don't really have in my projects, and that's what I use for my everyday use. And then when it comes to days when I want to be a bit more festive or days when I want to treat myself, I go for other products, for example on the weekends. But you can find what works for you, but what I found that really works for me is to have an everyday makeup bag and with all of your product pan items in it, so that you don't really have the option to choose other products. And yeah, just use them for every single day, because if you use them every single work day, for example, you will have tons of use and you will definitely see it in the product. So that is definitely my second tip. So my third tip is for when you get bored with your products. I would say to try to incorporate your products still, even though you want to reach for other items. I would say that try to keep using them, but mixing it up with using additional items. So for example, if you have been using your blush forever and you're really bored with it, try to use a blush topper on top of it to make it look a bit different. Or when it comes to your eyeshadows, you can do your regular eyeshadow routine, but then top it up with a glitter or do a pop of color somewhere. And that's kind of, so you can still use our product pan items, but you can mix it up a bit. And that's something that really have helped me, because especially with my eyeshadows, I've gotten so bored with my pan palette after using it for a year almost, and kind of putting glitters on top of it or topping it with, for example, my SuperShock shadows have definitely helped, because I can kind of still use my items, but I do get a different look every single day, topping it with different things. My next tip is to reapply. Reapply. Every item that you can reapply throughout the day, for example, lip products is a really good example of that, or even powder, do it. I think that's why I can use up lip products so fast, is because I reapply. Before I was really bad with reapplying my lipstick. I put it on in the morning and then I forgot to reapply throughout the day. I didn't even reapply after lunch, which is when it was basically worn off. But now I do remember to reapply. So in my case, I drink a lot of tea at work because I'm always really cold, so I keep warm with drinking tea. And once you're drinking maybe a cup of tea, your lipstick starts to wear off because it kind of transfers to the cup. So what I do then is just reapply a tiny bit when I feel like it starts to wear off. And also after lunch you can continue to reapply, and that's how I go through my lip products much faster. It's not needed, and I wouldn't say that you should kind of reapply when you don't have to, because you shouldn't waste your products, but just kind of be mindful of your makeup and kind of touch up if you feel like you need it. And that is definitely my next tip, because it has helped me so much with using up some of my items. And then for my last tip, that is actually just including for my product polish, and that is to keep your manicure fresh. Always reapply if you feel like it's worn off. And what I do is that if I feel like my kind of nails are chipped but I don't want to redo my whole manicure, is that I take off my nail polish on the finger that is chipped and I just reapply it on that finger. That way you can keep doing your nail polish and keep them fresh, but you don't have to redo all of them, because I know that it takes quite a long time to redo all of your nails. And also, if you're only doing one of them, you don't really have to be too careful to not smear your nail polish, because you can use the rest of the fingers or the other hand. And so that is definitely a big tip. And also, one tip that I found really helpful is a peel off base coat. That way you can just like kind of pop off the nail polish and redo them, so you don't have to kind of use acid on every single time. The only thing about that one is that they can kind of pop up, and they do chip quite easily, or more easily than if you're not using a peel off base coat. But I found that really helpful, and my nail polish usually lasts really long on my nails. I know that I can go probably like 2 weeks without redoing my nails, because it just lasts really long on my nails. So using a peel off base coat has been quite nice for me, because even though they can chip or even just pop off completely, I found that it makes it so much easier to redo my nails that I do redo them much more often, which is really good if you're trying to pan polishes. And then before we end this video, I'm just going to go through the best thing about product panning, in my opinion. And I would say that the #1 best thing about product panning is the community. I love the product panning community and the community that I've become a part of over the last year. I enjoy panning so much, and the support you get from the other people here on YouTube, both people that have a channel and the people that are watching, is amazing. And I am so happy to have found this community, and yeah, that is definitely the #1 thing about panning. The second thing is that I love that I'm getting use out of my collection. Since starting product panning, I have definitely started using my products up and not just kind of dabbing between products. I feel like getting use out of collection can be seen in 2 types of ways. You can see it in the way that using a lot of different products, but I have been doing that for years. And I mean getting use out of your collection in the sense of actually using things up and actually kind of focusing on one item and getting the money's worth out of that product. And I definitely feel like I've gotten my use out of some products this last year, which is really awesome. And also another thing that I found that I learned is that I kind of love that I found new ways to use products and kind of to make them work in different ways, which is really exciting. And I definitely have learned so much about makeup over the last year trying to pan items. Another thing that I love is probably something that some people may find a bit strange, and that is that I love the convenience of product panning. I love that I know what to reach for every day. I love that I have my everyday makeup bag and I don't really have to think about what I'm using, because I actually have the product pan to think up, and that means that I'm using those products mainly. And I really love that. I know that it is fun to play with items, and I do play with other makeup items from time to time, but in the morning when I'm really tired and I'm getting ready for work, I'm really happy just to reach for the items in my product pan, and I love how convenient that is. The next thing that I love is that I finished so many items in the last year. It's so awesome that I actually gotten so much use out of the products that I have, and I used up more products than I ever thought that I could in a year, which is amazing. And that's another thing that I really love about joining this community. The next thing is that I've realized what items I love and also what items I do not like. And also I love that I've learned to declutter items. Before I couldn't declutter because I was so scared to kind of get rid of items that I already spent my money on. But after starting product panning, I have definitely learned to declutter, which is definitely a big perk, and that is another thing that I really love, and it has made me streamline my makeup collection so much. And then the last thing I love with product panning is definitely just hitting pan and using up items. I touched on this previous in this video, but I love it. I love the feeling, I love the satisfaction, I love it all. Just hitting pan or using up an item is so satisfying, and I love that feeling. And also I just love sharing it with you guys. I love posting my product pan videos. I love sharing it with you guys, and that is definitely the last thing that I want to mention in this video. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely hope you learned some more about my product panning, but also some tips and tricks that you can use in your product pans. But yeah, I really hope you're having an awesome day, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye guys!